Welcome, food lovers, to another episode on the Tasty Cooking Creations channel. This is your go-to place for culinary innovation and delectable delights. Today, we're taking you on a flavorful adventure as we blend the scrumptious comfort of apple pie with the bite-sized convenience of cookies. Yes, you heard it right. We're making apple pie cookies. A combination so divine, it's going to leave your taste buds craving for more. Today, we're going to create a delightful fusion of apple pie and cookies. Excited? You should be. Every great recipe starts with great ingredients, and today we're gathering some truly delightful ones for our apple pie cookies. We'll need 2 medium-sized apples, rich in fiber and adding a sweet, tangy bite. A tablespoon of cinnamon for that warm, spicy kick that pairs so beautifully with apples. Half a cup of granulated sugar, bringing out the sweetness in our fruit. A 1/4 cup of unsalted butter, lending a creamy, rich base to our cookie dough. 2 cups of all-purpose flour, the backbone of our cookies, providing structure and texture. We'll also need a teaspoon of baking powder to give our cookies a little lift and a pinch of salt to balance out the sweetness. And, of course, a dash of vanilla extract for that extra depth of flavor. Each ingredient plays its part, working together to create a symphony of taste in every bite. With these ingredients ready, we're all set to start the fun part, the cooking. First up, we're going to prepare the dough. The secret to a perfect apple pie cookie lies in its flaky, buttery crust. So let's dive right into it. Start by combining 2 cups of all-purpose flour with a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in a large mixing bowl. The salt will enhance the flavors and give your cookies that extra kick. Give this dry mix a good whisk until it's well combined. Next, we'll add in 1 cup of cold, unsalted butter that's been diced into small cubes. Why cold butter, you ask? Well, the cold butter will create pockets of steam as the cookies bake, resulting in that beautiful, flaky texture we all love. So using your fingertips or a pastry cutter, work the butter into the flour until it resembles coarse breadcrumbs. The secret weapon in our dough is cream cheese. Yes, you heard it right. We'll be adding half a cup of cream cheese to our dough. The cream cheese not only adds a tangy flavor, but also contributes to the tender, melt-in-your-mouth texture of our cookies. Now, it's time to bring our dough together. Slowly drizzle in about 4 tablespoons of ice-cold water while gently folding the dough. Be careful not to overwork it, as we don't want a tough cookie. You're looking for a dough that holds together when squeezed, but still has visible bits of butter. Once that's done, divide the dough in half, wrap each portion in plastic wrap, and press it into a disc. Let it rest in the fridge for at least an hour. This chilling time allows the gluten strands to relax, making the dough easier to roll out later, and helps the butter firm up again, which will give you that flaky crust. Remember, patience is a virtue, especially in baking. So while our dough is getting its beauty sleep in the fridge, we'll turn our attention to the star of the show, the apples. With our dough resting, we can move on to preparing the apple filling. Now it's time to give our cookies that classic apple pie flavor. The secret to a perfect apple pie cookie lies in the filling. It's all about finding that sweet spot between texture and flavor. To start off, we'll need about 4 medium-sized apples. You can use any variety you prefer, but Granny Smith apples are a classic choice for their tartness, which balances out the sweetness beautifully. First, peel and core the apples. Then, dice them up into small pieces. The size of the pieces will influence the texture of your filling, so consider how you want the final product to feel. For a chunkier filling, leave the pieces a bit larger. For a smoother filling, dice them finer. Next, let's move on to the stovetop. Heat a large pan over medium heat and add the diced apples. To this, we'll add half a cup of granulated sugar, a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and 2 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. The sugars will draw out the juices from the apples, while the cinnamon adds that signature apple pie aroma. Stir everything together and let it cook. Now, this is where the magic happens. As the apples cook, they'll soften and release their juices, creating a thick, caramel-like sauce. Cook them until they're just tender. You don't want them to turn into applesauce. This should take about 10 minutes. Once the apples are cooked, sprinkle in 2 tablespoons of cornstarch. This will thicken up the sauce and give our filling that perfect, gooey consistency. Stir well to avoid any lumps, then remove the pan from the heat and let the filling cool. As it cools, it will thicken further, making it easier to spoon onto our cookie dough later on. And there you have it, a delicious homemade apple filling packed with flavor, ready to transform our cookies into mini apple pies. Remember, it's all about the balance of sweet and tart, soft and firm. With our apple filling ready, we're halfway through our recipe. Now comes the exciting part, assembling and baking our apple pie cookies. Let's switch gears and bring together all the elements we've prepared. To start, we need to preheat our oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. While our oven is heating, let's get our dough and filling ready. First, lightly dust your working surface with flour. It's time to roll out the dough. We're looking for about 1/8 of an inch thick. Don't be shy to use your rolling pin. It's an art to get it just right. Once your dough is rolled out, it's time to cut out our cookie shapes. You can use a round cookie cutter or even a glass if you don't have one handy. Now let's take our apple filling and place a dollop right in the center of each cookie cutout. Be generous but careful. We don't want it spilling out the sides. That's the beauty of these little treats. Each one is like a mini apple pie. Next, we'll cover each cookie with another dough circle. Press the edges together gently with your fingers, creating a little pie pocket. For that quintessential pie look, let's crimp the edges with a fork. This not only gives our cookies an authentic look, but also ensures that our filling stays put while baking. Before these little beauties hit the oven, we have one final touch to add. Let's create a small slit on the top of each cookie. This allows steam to escape while baking, preventing our cookies from turning into mini apple volcanoes. Now, brush each cookie with a little beaten egg. This gives our cookies a beautiful golden brown finish. If you're feeling adventurous, sprinkle a little sugar on top for an extra crunch, and into the oven they go. We're going to bake our cookies for about 15 to 20 minutes or until they're golden brown. Remember, every oven is different, so you might need to adjust your baking time. While our cookies are baking, let's take a moment to appreciate the magic happening inside the oven. The heat is transforming our humble ingredients into something spectacular. The butter in the dough is melting, creating pockets of air that make our cookies flaky and tender. The sugar is caramelizing, giving our cookies their golden color and sweet crunch. And our apple filling is bubbling away, turning into a jammy, fragrant delight. Ah, the sweet smell of success. It's time to remove our cookies from the oven. Let them cool on the baking sheet for a few minutes, then transfer to a cooling rack. Patience is key here. We don't want to burn our tongues on hot apple filling. There you have it, fresh out of the oven, your very own apple pie cookies. Wow, don't these apple pie cookies look delicious? We've come a long way from gathering our ingredients to tasting these scrumptious delights. Let's take a quick stroll down memory lane. First, we started by making our dough, combining the flour, sugar, butter, and a pinch of salt. The key here was to ensure our dough was smooth and pliable. The secret ingredient? A good amount of patience and love. Then we moved on to preparing the apple filling. The apples, sugar, and cinnamon all simmered together, filling the air with an irresistible aroma. Remember, choosing the right kind of apples can make a world of difference in taste and texture. Finally, we assembled and baked our cookies. The dough and filling came together to create these bite-sized wonders. The golden brown crust with a hint of apple peeking through was a sight to behold. And voila! Our apple pie cookies are ready to be devoured. Savor them with a cup of tea or share them with your loved ones. After all, cooking is about more than just food. It's about creating memories, sharing experiences, and above all, spreading joy. So until our next culinary adventure, keep those aprons ready and those ovens preheated. Remember, cooking is not a chore, it's a creative outlet. And the best part? You get to eat your art. Remember to subscribe to Tasty Cooking Creations and comment below on which recipe you'd like to see next. Happy cooking, everyone!